You know, a lot of folks have said, well, Kendrick, you haven't been challenged. You know, you haven't had a tough race. I've had tough races. You know, I've worked hard. And I think working hard should be a testimonial to the political success that I've had as an elected official. When I ran for the State House of Representatives, I got in when the Democratic leader was still thinking about running, Ms. Gordon, and she decided not to. I then was in I think a three-way race for the State House, and then for the State Senate, I ran against an incumbent. The late Bill Turner. Last I checked, there was a high school named after him, so he wasn't a pushover candidate. When we dealt with the issue of class size, and I remember being in this room talking about the issue of class size, fighting against the entire state government and a very powerful governor, Jeb Bush at the time, kind of a Huey Long kind of power because of his family and political backing that they had. And now we're here involved in a three-way race, running against a number of candidates that have real life experience in politics, and some no life experience in politics, but a checkbook. I think the primary is going to be a plus. I think it's going to be the yellow brick road for us to get to the general. I think we're going to have major momentum coming out of it. I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk, but I do believe that my campaign and the Democratic voters that will be voting will be challenged in a way that they have not been challenged before, to make a decision that's sound, that is accurate, based on my past work and based on the effort that we put forth. I think we bring a lot to the table in the general election, and I think people are going to take that as a value. This, and I'm coming in for a close, this petition effort is unlike any effort ever before in Florida politics. Having a fresh voter file with individuals that are willing to have clipboard in hand to place my name on the ballot, the discussions that I've had on I-95, I-75, I-10, I-4 are going to come in as long-term relationships that historically Democratic statewide candidates have not had. So I put it this way, I'm the only hard working campaign that has to be, or candidate that has to be displaced 2 or 3 days out of the week to go, to vote in Washington, D.C., because I have to fulfill my obligations to not only the 17th Congressional District, but also to the state of Florida. The rest of the candidates are here. I don't know what Mr. Rubio does professionally. I don't know what Mr. Green does on his time, whatever he does. I don't know. And I know that Mr. Chris has, made it, very useful for him to move around the state under the title of governor and being in every community. So I'm trying to be in every community. I'm trying to run a ground campaign, and I do believe that if you want to ask if anything has gone wrong, obviously in a campaign there will be things that will go wrong, but I think there'll be more things that will go right, and that we will, in the end, Floridians will probably know me better than they know any other candidate in this race.
Well, given all those things you said you've been doing, why aren't you doing better in the polls compared to the other two big candidates?
Well, let's just look at the Pennsylvania race. This is a very good example, and probably the closest example to get a snapshot of Florida. The stories that I've been reading has been, Kendrick's being challenged not by Marco Rubio at this point, but by the governor, of Democrats identifying with the governor more. Well, Democrats identify with our inspector more leading up to Election Day. Joe Sestak was down 40 points when he got into the race. He was down 25 points 6 weeks before the election day. And I firmly believe if Democrats have an opportunity to choose a Democrat or a Democrat, they're going to vote for a Democrat. They're not going to vote for someone that says, well, I will consider issues that you feel passionate about, or principles that you feel passionate about, or maybe I'll caucus with the Democratic majority, or maybe I'll support the president in his reelection in 2012, or maybe I'll, look at this whole issue of pro-choice versus pro-life, or maybe. So I think that now people will make decisions. I think that once we start to deploy the resources, and you also have to look at the field. Everyone in this race has had a third-party group step in and run ads for them. Club for Growth have stepped in and has put forth ads for Mr. Rubio. The teachers on the thank you to Governor Chris has put ads out. We had the Florida Sugar Coalition, the Mikasukis. So you've had a number, the Seminoles, I'm sorry. You've had a number of third-party groups that have promoted every other candidate in this race, including Mr. Green, who's writing $1 million+ checks to television stations to run ads. We're running a traditional campaign. Do we have friends? Absolutely. People who care about my candidacy. But have they put me on television yet? No. Will they? Maybe they will. I don't have that communications with them.
Were you surprised about the teachers in those ads, given that your background with the class size amendment?
It was interesting, and I appreciate the teachers' endorsement. Mm-hmm. And I feel that a lot of the frontline teachers know where I've been mm-hmm. and where I will be. Mm-hmm. And, I asked for their full endorsement because I've been not a co-supporter, but a full supporter. Mm-hmm. I haven't been a co-friend, I've been a full friend. And I think when people look at that and look at my history and look at the fact that I pushed against vouchers and that I've held a clipboard by myself in a Winn-Dixie parking lot getting signatures, that's leadership. And they created the environment for the governor to veto Senate mm-hmm. Bill 6 because, again, that was not original thought of his. Mm-hmm. It was showing up at the committee meeting saying we're in support of the bill, his representative, and then seeing the tide turn on teachers taking to the mm-hmm. streets and mm-hmm. creating the environment to be against Senate Bill 6. I supported being against Senate Bill 6. I think in the final analysis, I know that I'll get more votes from public educators than the governor will get, regardless of the co-endorsement. But would I have liked a full endorsement? Absolutely, mm-hmm. absolutely. But I am pleased to have the endorsement that I have, and the ads, they were campaign style ads. They were, hey, thank you, and the governor and wearing shirts that not a tie. There were ads that were troubling to me, but I guess they have to do what they have to do to say thank you. I'm not running the FEA, but I do believe that that teachers are just as appreciative of my efforts over the last 15 and a half years on behalf of public education. And I walked a yellow brick road on that. I went all the way back at the screening of talking about when I first got into the legislature, the charter school bill, charter school law as mm-hmm. we know it. There was a kind of quote unquote private style of charter school law, and there was a public style. And as a freshman state representative, I carried that bill mm-hmm. and fought against the forces of the chamber and others that were saying, oh, we needed more, private, more adapt. And I hung in there on behalf of the teachers all the way to the speaker's office mm-hmm. where I was asked to stand down, mm-hmm. and I kept pushing through. And I think that's the kind of leadership that folks are going to fall back on when they look at tough times and say, something, we don't need to send someone from central casting to the United States Senate. We need to send someone who has a track record of fighting and hanging in there against the odds. My whole life has been against the odds. It's nothing new to me. It's not a new space for me to be in. I've always fought and I've always worked hard.